It started with a whisper, just my name. Every night, just before I woke up in cold sweats and chills. I live alone, but something or someone is here, watching, waiting. I don't know what it wants, but each night it gets bolder. And if you're brave enough to stay till the end, you'll understand why I'll never sleep peacefully again. This is Story After Midnight, and we will dive right into today's story. Hi, my name is Rachel, and for the past 3 weeks, I've been terrified to fall asleep in my own apartment. It started subtly, so subtle I thought I was imagining it. A whisper, just one, just my name. Rachel. So soft, so faint, I thought it was a dream. You know the kind, where your own subconscious says your name, and you wake up thinking someone's calling you. That first night, I laughed it off. Maybe I had just watched too many creepy TikToks before bed. I mean, living alone in a quiet one-bedroom apartment, you learn to brush off the creaks and groans of old plumbing, or the sounds of neighbors above you. But the next night, it came again. Rachel. Clearer. Closer. Closer. Like it was just inches from my ear. My eyes shut open and my heart was racing. I looked around, the darkness thick and still, the kind that wraps itself around you like a blanket soaked in cold water. I fumbled for the bedside lamp. Nothing was there. No one. But my body was reacting like there had been. My skin was clammy. I was burning hot, like I had a fever, and yet I was shivering. I took my temperature, but the thermometer said I was normal. Still, my insides felt like they were being squeezed, twisted. I barely slept, and this pattern repeated. Every single night. The whisper came, Rachel. Always in the same voice. Low, male, smooth, but not soothing. Familiar, but I couldn't place it, and always right by my ear. Sometimes it was a whisper so close I could feel the breath on my skin, even though I was alone. At least, I thought I was. The hot flashes were worse now. I would wake drenched in sweat, but shaking so hard my teeth chattered. I changed my sheets daily, opened windows, tried sleeping pills, but the whisper kept coming, and I kept feeling sicker, more drained. I talked to my friend Melissa about it. She's into spiritual stuff, sage, crystals, all that. She came over and did a cleansing, walked around my apartment burning sage and muttering something under her breath. She said the energy in my bedroom was dense. That's the word she used. Dense. Like something was sitting there, watching. But she didn't feel threatened. Easy for her to say. She didn't have to sleep there. That night, I went to bed feeling slightly better. The apartment smelled like burnt herbs and lemon. I almost believed Melissa had scared it away. But that night, it said more than just my name. Rachel, don't fight it. My whole body locked up. I sat bolt upright in bed, gasping for air. The voice had changed, still smooth, still male, but deeper now, hungrier, and it hadn't whispered from beside my bed. It had come from under it. I didn't look. I couldn't. The air in my room was thick, suffocating. My skin burned and I could barely breathe. I stumbled into the hallway, flipped on every light in the apartment and sat on the kitchen floor with a knife in my hand until dawn. I called in sick the next day. I couldn't concentrate at work anyway. My boss thinks I have the flu. I wish it were that simple. I started sleeping on the couch. Or trying to. But even in the living room, the voice came. Rachel, I'm waiting. Every time I hear it, I feel like I lose a little more control of my body. It starts with heat, like fire blooming in my chest, and then the cold follows, bone deep. I shake. I can't breathe. It feels like something is feeding off me. I did something I never thought I'd do. I set up my phone to record overnight audio, just to prove to myself I wasn't losing it. The next morning, I listened. Nothing, for hours. Just the sound of my breathing, shifting on the couch. A cough. A sigh. Then, at 2:58 a.m., I heard it. Rachel. But it didn't come from beside me. It came from inside the phone speaker, like something was speaking into the device. I dropped the phone. It clattered to the floor and kept playing. Soon. That's all it said before the recording ended. I haven't slept since. Melissa came back. This time she brought a friend who called himself a sensitive. He stood in the bedroom for a long time with his eyes closed. When he opened them, he looked pale, sweating. I told him I'd never played with a Ouija board or summoned anything. He looked at me with pity and said, "It doesn't always need an invitation. Sometimes. It waits until someone's weak." I don't remember ever being weak, but then he asked me if I'd experienced loss recently. I told him no. But as soon as the words left my mouth, something twisted in my gut. That wasn't true. Last year, my ex-boyfriend Brandon died in a car accident. We hadn't spoken in months. It ended badly. There were things I never got to say. Things I regretted. But that couldn't be connected. Could it? The sensitive asked me his name. I told him. He went white. "It's him," he whispered. But it's not him anymore. It's hard to explain what it's like to hear someone say, "It's him, but it's not him anymore." To feel the name of someone you once loved hang heavy in the air like smoke. And to know that something wearing his voice is whispering to you in the dark. I told the sensitive his name was Jonas, to leave. I wasn't ready to accept what he was saying. I told myself it was all superstition, a bad dream stretched over too many sleepless nights. But deep down, I knew. The whisper knew things only Brandon would know. That night, I tried to sleep again on the couch. The lamp still on beside me, the protective charm Melissa left resting on my chest. I wrapped myself in a blanket and stared at the ceiling, willing myself to stay awake. At exactly 3 a.m., I heard it. "Rachel, do you remember that night in the cabin?" I stopped breathing. No one knew about that night. Not even Melissa. Brandon and I had rented a cabin in the middle of nowhere when we were still together. We had one of those long, all-night talks where secrets are shared and promises are made in the dark. It was where he first said he loved me. "I still love you." The voice was softer now, almost sweet. And for a moment, I wanted to believe it was him. That somehow Brandon had found a way back. That maybe he was stuck and I could help him move on. I whispered into the room, "What do you want?" No answer, but the temperature in the room plummeted. I could see my breath. The charm on my chest grew hot, so hot it burned me. I ripped it off and sat up, heart pounding. That's when the lights flickered, and I saw it. Just for a second, standing in the hallway outside the living room. A figure, male. Tall, familiar, but wrong. His proportions were off. Arms too long, head tilted too far to the side. The eyes, if you could call them that, were just pits. Deep, hollow sockets that felt like they were watching me even when I turned away. I screamed. The figure vanished. I ran to the front door. Locked. Deadbolt jammed. I yanked and twisted the handle, but it wouldn't move. I turned and saw my phone on the table light up. A notification. Voice memo. 3 a.m. I didn't hit record. Hands shaking, I pressed play. And I heard myself. Breathing. Heart hammering. Then a whisper. "Let me in, Rachel. Let me in." Then louder. "Let me in!" The voice cracked like a scream, layered in static and thunder. I dropped the phone. It slid under the couch and I didn't even try to grab it. I couldn't move. That night, I sat frozen in the corner of the room, facing the hallway, eyes wide and dry, waiting for sunrise. When the light finally crept through the windows, I packed a bag and left. I went to Melissa's apartment and begged her to let me stay. She didn't even ask questions. She just hugged me. But I couldn't sleep there either. The second night, I dozed off on her guest bed for just a few minutes. And the second I drifted into sleep, I heard it again. "You're mine now." Hot flashes, shivering, a stabbing pain behind my eyes, like nails being driven into my skull. I screamed. Melissa ran in and turned on every light. She saw the marks, 3 long red scratches down my back. I hadn't touched myself. I couldn't have. She took photos. Told me she knew someone who specialized in this. A real one, she said. Not some Instagram spiritual coach. The next day, I met a woman named Althea. Older, quiet, sharp. She walked into Melissa's apartment, looked me in the eye and said, "He's not your ex. He's wearing Brandon's memory, but he's something much older and much worse." I asked her what it wanted. She looked at me with pity and said, "You. Not my soul, not revenge, not answers. Just me." She told me it had latched on to me the moment Brandon died, that my guilt, my regret, had created a hole, and something else had crawled through it. She gave me one last warning. "You invited it in by mourning what was gone, but you can cast it out by letting go." That night, I went back to my apartment. Althea insisted it had to be done there, where the bond had fully taken root. She began a ritual, burned herbs, drew symbols in salt around my bed, told me to lie down and confront it in sleep. I was terrified, but I did it. At 3 a.m., the temperature dropped, the lights died, and I heard the whisper. "Rachel?" I didn't respond. It came closer. "Rachel, come with me." Still, I said nothing. Then I felt the breath on my face, the pressure on my chest. The heat bloomed under my skin. Then ice chased it from my bones. I forced myself to speak. "You're not Brandon." Silence. Then a low growl. So deep, it rattled my ribs. "Say it again." "I release you." I whispered. "You are not him. You never were. I don't want you." A scream. Inhuman. Screeching. Like 1,000 voices layered into one, ripped through the air. I opened my eyes, and I saw it. A face, inches from mine. Twisting, decaying, hollow-eyed and furious. A mimic of Brandon, but rotted and wrong. Its mouth opened far too wide, and then it was gone. The lights flickered back on. The heat vanished. The air was still. Althea was there, holding my hand. She looked exhausted, but nodded. "It's over." I moved out the next day. I don't know where that thing came from, or where it went. But I've learned this. Grief opens doors. And sometimes, something else walks through. So if you ever hear someone whisper your name in the dark, don't answer. They say what you listen to before bed stays with you. If this one lingers, you know what to do. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to Story After Midnight before the lights go out. Until next time, thanks for listening.